Yo, Cyprien. Okay, so let's do this. Let me just check that everything's okay. Okay, it's all good. Okay, so let's just have a look at this. Awesome. Cool. So from the last time I saw this, I think um, yeah, you've added the last part, right? So this was not sure this was in there actually. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, no, overall it's very funny. Okay, so I'm just gonna give you basically feedback on the body mechanic, because I mean acting, well, it's not really acting, but like here it's more like pantomime. I'm not an expert. Obviously, I'm working on Total Warhammer, so we are focusing on action and yeah, creature and stuff like that. So it's not to say that there's no subtleties, but there's, I'm not an expert basically. That's what I'm saying. So, okay, let's just start, I guess. So, I think I'm gonna probably do it until here at first. And what I'm gonna say here is gonna mostly be relevant with uh, the whole thing. But just gonna talk about the body mechanic of this shot. Let's actually start here. It's it's a bit too simple, I would say. So it lacks a bit of detail, and I see you did some stuff like the arms are a bit swaying here, which is nice. It does break um, it does break the character motion a little bit. But if we just look at the steps um, and the chest and the hips, um, it does look a bit simple and a bit snappy sometimes in terms of timing. So if we just take your step, you really need to make sure that you know where your weight is at every time, and it all starts from the hips basically. So you need to. What I would do, I think here first is I would track my hips, and I would make sure that I have a nice arc um, and no weird spacing. So like here, for example, hold on, let me move this here. You see here, like how the hips are here, and suddenly they go here. It would be a bit smoother, like the character has a lot more weight than what you did. Um, so yeah, I'm sure if you were to track your spacing, your arcs from the top, it would need to be a bit much smoother than this. So that would be a starting point. Then obviously you've got your feet action that is very simple and snappy uh, and are often completely locked. So if you have a look, it doesn't move at all, or it does move weirdly. Um, so even when the feet are on the ground, there's always like micro adjustment or things like this. Um, Here is a good example as well. If you just look at the hips, here it does a step. Also, I'm just seeing this right now, but be careful with the orientation of your knees. It most of the time is the same as that's a very big pencil. Does that even change it? Yeah, that's better. Um, yeah, it's most of the time it's in the same axis as your foot. So make sure that this is the case. So yeah, I was saying about the hips. Basically, here it takes a step. So you've got the weight on this leg here, and then you see it's very snappy. It could start transitioning a bit earlier on the right. Um, and when it lands, you've got a bit uh, of follow through that you do have here. But here, look at the hips. They are not moving at all for like, well, 2 frames, but it feels a bit longer. And then the weight. So here, basically, your character is off balance. And when he planted the foot, then the hips need to go on that leg. Sorry, what did I say? The hips, yeah, the hips weight need to take these legs um, weight. So you would have an action here, more detail basically. That's what I will mean for the whole for this whole review. So yeah, and I'm not even talking about the chest. Although the chest, I do like it a bit better purely because, well, I think you kind of nailed the expression. This is cool. Whoops. The face expression is cool. I do like the pose of the whole silhouette kind of thing. I think this is quite cool. The only thing I would be careful of is not breaking the wrist too much. Although here it's fine. It's just in general, I would be careful of that. But you see here just how he enters, which by the way uh, feels a bit like it feels a bit crab-like, just because the feet are really oriented with the outside, and we really, see those shapes. So the shapes are. But yeah, that's not what I was gonna say initially. Is that you straight away feel that your character is off balance. Um, so I would be careful with that. And you see here, for example, so I told you to correct the hips here, but oh, by the way, you know, I'm just learning this software, but it's amazing. You can do a lot of things. Anyway, so if I zoom in a little bit, you see here the hips will go like I was saying. So they're a bit too snappy. They will go a bit too quick this way. But look at the chest. What the chest is doing. It's following exactly what the hips are doing. And okay, he's kind of like sneaking in, so it's fair to say that it would basically the chest would lead a bit. So yeah, okay, maybe the chest would follow a bit more what the hips are doing, but it would feel a bit more weighty and a bit more organic if there was a slight offset from the chest and the hips. Um, You see, like what you did here, for example, is quite cool. Like um, the arms are going this way, and the chest is going this way. This is quite cool. Yeah. Okay. So that's for the first part. Um, let me just. Oh, I love this. I think this take is quite cool here. Um, the reaction, sorry, reaction is nice. Maybe he holds it a bit too long. Let me see. Yeah, I think. I do like the little smear effect that you've added as well. You continue to add. It's quite cool. On the nose, it's quite it's quite ridiculous. It's quite funny. Be careful of hyperextension of the legs. Um, yeah, especially as fast as this. But yeah, it's cool. Um, here I would say maybe it feels a bit. So basically, he's rushing here. Um, so again, be careful with, especially with action shot like this. Be careful with really tracking your arcs, and always start with the hips. But see here, so I could do that. But if I delete that, okay, cool. Um, no, this. So yeah, it's tracking your hips. Just needs a bit of help. So obviously it's not as precise as your pivot point of your controller, but it will give um, it will give uh, an idea. And you can also do this, which is quite cool to see the keyframes. So there you go. So so it's quite obviously it's the arc. I'm sure it's a bit smoother if we were to track your controller. But look here, like your spacing, how your spacing is. Um, Here it's quite smooth, and here suddenly you have a big acceleration, and here as well, and then a little slowdown, and then accelerate again. So this is could be a bit more um, graceful. It could work a bit better. So yeah, if you were to track your arcs, make sure that the spacing is equal, not equal. That's not what I mean, but like is taken care of, I should say. Okay, but same kind of feedback here as the first part. Whoa, I'm noticing that it's already 12 minutes. I'll try to be a bit faster. Um, but yeah, try to apply the same thing that I said at the beginning. Um, but yeah, I would say maybe here he's rushing, okay, but maybe you need an anticipation because at the moment you have the hold, and then this is your anticipation. But for the movement, if you just look at the hips, that doesn't really work because what he put his weight on this foot here, and suddenly, so here the weight is here, the hips goes down back, and as soon as the foot is planted, the hips magically start moving forward. So I would be careful with that. Either you add a bigger anticipation here, where the hips. Hold on, let me uh, get rid of that and redo you something a bit s- more clean. Either the hips would do something like this and then go. So like you would have like quite, you know, a, s- a s- a slow spacing and then a more broad spacing, but again with like, an ease out. This is kind of what you did, but here it doesn't feel plausible the way you did it. So I would add more detail here, especially for us an action as big as this. Almost look like he's being pushed, really. Almost look like he's being kicked here, you know. So yeah, I would be careful with that. Um, what's next? Oh yeah, against the generator. This is quite cool. I love what you did with the little finger, the fingers. That's amazing. It's really cool. Yeah, against the generator, I think this is too fast, so either slow it down or make him slam his back to the generator if you really want to be hitting the thing at that speed. Yeah. But I mean overall, so again, I'm talking about obviously I'm used to seeing heavy stuff. That's the style we are doing for Warhammer. So I'm used to seeing heavy stuff, like not like this, not so snappy. If it were a Warhammer character, we would make him, a lot more heavier. So that's obviously why I'm telling you all of that. Um, but if you want something a bit more cartoony, I think that works. But still, I would add a bit more fluidity to it. Just looking at the steps right now, it feels a bit snappy, a bit of a lack of detail. If you look like how fast the steps are moving, if you just look at I'm gonna do this because I can. If you just look at the feet at normal speed, you can't see anything really. So this is slow down at 50%. So here you can see a bit of the steps, although obviously they lack details. But this is normal speed. You just don't see it. It's like insect speed. It's super fast. So yeah, yeah. Like I was saying, I really love the fingers detail here. I think that's amazing. That's really cool. Very simple, but works really well. That's really cool. Um, what's after that? Oh yeah, the shooting, right? Yeah. I remember you had a hyperextension here uh, of the leg at some point. You fixed it. It's nice. But still, I guess you could have added a bit more detail. But this is nice overall. I mean, that's cool. So I guess he's kind of like out of breath. I love also the little steps you did here. This is really cool. But again, look at just the chest relation to um to the hips. They move in unison, they move completely together. That would not happen because where is the weight here? I'm guessing is either his butt is against the generator or his shoulder blades are against the generator. So, he would need to basically, if let's say the shoulder blades were against the generator, he would need to move the hips forward, but this would be in contact with the generator. So you say it cannot move like this. Oh, I mean, I guess yeah, it can slide, but here is taking steps. So you know what I mean? As soon as he put his steps here, I think the hips would move, but the chest would not, or less than this, but not in unison like this. Or make it slide differently. Yeah. Oh, I just noticed something. Be careful with. I said it already, but the broken wrist. This is a bit uh, not very nice. Yeah, I think your smear. We talked about this last time as well. I remember. Oh, I just noticed your feet are a bit weird. This leg here feels a bit, and this one as well. I'm sure you've got different orientation. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the smear. I think the smear. So you made it start earlier, I think, but I think it slows down. It feels too slow. Uh, it's quite cool though. While seeing it looping like this, it doesn't feel too slow. Hold on, I'm thinking maybe I should. I don't even know if I can do this. Can I just get rid of the whole? Uh, if I reopen it, uh, I'm just thinking. It sounds to me like the frame rate is a bit off. So I just want to make sure, but might not be. Yeah. The smear on the nose is great. I like this pose as well. It's quite cool. Not sure if it was necessary here on the fingers, but yeah, it's funny. Oh yeah, your arms, I guess. I guess you could have stronger pose here because they start to. And again, be careful with the wrist here. If you try yourself, you will see you are not able to go as far as 45 degrees, roughly, in this direction, and even less in the other direction, unless you have a broken wrist or something. I don't know, but yeah. Here, I would say you could have like a stronger pose with the arm being a bit more, um, a bit more straight. So I would actually even move the shoulder lower than this than what I just did to have like a stronger arc. Because here you've got like you see, I'm talking about maintaining this arm extension here because they start to. Yeah, maybe it's because yeah, maybe, but I don't know. Maybe it's a frame too early. I think here it almost feel like you are losing volume a little bit. If you look at this length and if you look at this length, yeah, and here, so yeah, it would have been cool to also came really strong here, where like the arm would be more straight, like a more snappy. Because here again, if you track your spacing, so let me remove all of that to be a bit more clean. Okay, so we are definitely going for a long review, Elliot. I'm sorry in advance, Cyprien. Um, yes, I need that. This. Hold on. Let's track the end of the gun. It will be much easier. So again, look at your spacing. It's very imprecise. So if I just so here you've got a um, very broad spacing here, which makes sense. Although again, I would suggest to have something a bit more like this. It would feel a bit more in terms of trajectory, of course. Anyway, yeah, here it starts to ease in a bit too early. So yeah, you could definitely have a stronger pose here, here. Well, it seems like the rig is weirdly affected here. Um, all this area here looks a bit off, but I would definitely have like a, yeah, a stronger pose here. At first, at least, at the end of this action, and then here the settling, I would go back to. But you see how weak that pose look? Doesn't look pro at all. Doesn't look like the guy knows what he's gonna do. And it doesn't look like a fire pose as well. A shooting pose, sorry. So yeah, you could work on this pose a bit more. Um, have a wider stance. It would look cooler. Maybe that was not your intention, but oops. Yeah, this is quite nice. The chest action that you have. Maybe a bit of rotation here. Oh, it's a bit. That would look a bit better, I think. The pose could be a bit improved, yeah, a bit more appealing. Okay, so the recoil, I guess, could be improved. Um, Again, check your feet and add more details. And you see here, uh, this foot here is going into the ground and doesn't move at all. Here, like especially how fast this action is, the feet would definitely, or this foot at least, it would definitely either slide a little bit, and again not on the same uh, not on the same pivot point, but like most likely it would slide from the let me redo that. It would slide slightly and also rotate a little bit, if it makes sense. So like this would rotate a bit more, and the top, the tip of the foot would slide a little bit, if that makes sense. Like it would definitely, and same for the readjustment here. When the weight is on this leg here, like it would be a bit more on, the weight would be a bit more on his toes, and maybe the heel would readjust slightly, so like a bit of rotation here to move the back of the heels, just slightly, I'm sure, or a bit of rotation. This is if this is from if this is a view of the back of the shoes, like, and this is, oops, sorry, and this is the ground, like make the shoe rock a little bit, you know, to have the weight a bit more here rather than on here, just add a bit of detail basically. And yeah, for the shooting, I would definitely add more recoil. Uh, so here, yeah, it's just the arms that are moving. His head is not moving. Uh, yeah, the 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 arm are moving all together as one piece with the gun. So yeah, you could break that down way more. Um, what else? Sorry, I lost my my cursor. So it's clearly being hit. This looks funny to me, but yeah, I guess if he's being hit on the chest, I mean on the shoulder rather, yeah, I would rotate I think that's what she did, but maybe it's not visible enough. I would rotate the chest a bit more, and definitely this is what leads the action, which is what you have. But I would definitely have more of a curve like this. So this is what you have, but you could emphasize that with the head as well, having the head, uh, you know, having the head still here, and here same like here is completely unbalanced with a hyperextended uh, feet, foot, sorry, leg. This is quite funny. I like this this part here. Although it looks more like a clumsy guy, someone that you know, like just I don't know, did something to his ankle, like was walking and suddenly lose balance, and or someone that is fainting. That's someone that just got shot. Um, so yeah, I think here it's really cool. To show that he's hurt is really nice as well. Here that's really clear. Um, but it holds a bit too long. If he's under fire, he's not undercover anymore. So that's just something that I noticed. I love this pose. This pose is really cool. Just maybe if he was hurt in his shoulder, I don't think he would really be able to do that. Because here it almost looked like his shoulder is not, his arm is still functioning perfectly fine. So don't get me wrong, I love this pose. I think you nailed this pose. It's really nice. But I would have gone from this pose to this pose differently than how smooth it went. Also, check you've got a weird shoulder action here. It's the pose as well. It just looked like he doesn't have any shoulder. So uh, I guess it would need to be a bit lower. Yeah. And also, yeah, here you do have like a weird rotation here. Yeah, but this is a nice pose. It's just, you know what I mean? If your shoulder were hurt, uh, you would definitely do it differently. Okay. The smear here is great. I think here it's kind of the same as the first impact. It would need to feel like it's being hit here, you know, here. Uh, that drawing doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm gonna make a big arrow here. Bam, bam. Um, because, yeah, I think you got it right with the hips, but the chest would definitely be a bit more like this, and same, the head would be like that. And maybe you could even have the yeah, well, no, I was gonna say the legs, but yeah. Sorry, I'm recording something. Um, yeah. So yeah, that's for the impact. And also here, it kind of look like is dragged to the ground instead of so it is impactful, of course, but it could be a bit more. I think it's again that it's too fast for me. No, it's not that, but it's too snappy. So you could add detail to smooth everything a bit. I think here, um, yeah, it feels a bit too dragged. Yeah, no, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I think it's just if there was a bigger sense of like where the impact was coming from, I think it would work a bit better. So even here, I think his chest would still be around here, and the arms trailing here with the head like that. Yeah, something like this. And the heat feels a bit weird here because here it has impact, but there's a very weird there's a very weird movement on the hips. Also, I just noticed something funny. He's touching his shoulder, but not his stomach, which seems like it was the big blow, not the shoulder. And funny enough, it seems as well that he's also resting on his shoulder, which I think, yeah, would be very, very painful if you just got shot. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The bounce feels a bit. Bounces are tricky because it's always this sort of thing where it's really you can spend a lot of time on like simple thing like let's say your gun that is bouncing on the ground because if it doesn't feel exactly right, then there's always gonna be something that's gonna look off. So yeah, and the bounces of a body are always the same thing. But here you do have some weird stuff happening. If you just look at the feet, they go slamming on the ground. Oh, here, sorry, at the same time. And then you've got this one that is a bit sticky here. And going back, I mean, yeah, you just like a bit of detail. But overall, it reads very clearly. It's just I think you could have more bounce on a slightly more bounce on the hips. Oh my God, I'm sorry for the drawing. That it's acting a bit weirdly. Slightly more bounce. Yeah. And also the gun. The gun feels a bit too cartoony, but it's alright. Maybe that's what you went for. But when it falls, I would suggest um, that here, first it's not clear what the gun is hitting here because I was thinking it was gonna hit the fingers, the back of the fingers, but it goes past through this and then start to bounce. But on what then? I'm not sure. Is it the thumb? Is it this? I don't know. It cannot be so. It just feels a bit off. So what I would do is I would definitely make the gun bounce out of those fingers here. Either this part of the gun or either this part of the gun. I don't know, but I would do that. Also, it just shows that yeah, you can't grip it because it's you can't catch it because it's at the back of your fingers. So yeah, can I switch that? Yeah, and here same if you just track your wrist, the spacing is not great. So be careful with that. Again, with the same thing I was saying. I'll do it one last time just so we are on the same page. No, that's not what I want. That's what I want, and I will change the color to something that hurts the eyes a bit more. Yep. So you see your spacing here is not great. Uh, Obviously you need, yeah. And your trajectory is a bit weird as well. Like I think he would go most likely for a fast action like this. He would go most likely with a straight line. I know it's not how we do things in animation, but and I know that's not what you did, but or at least maybe this, you know, and the spacing would be much more snappy and hit the gun right away, and that would make the gun uh, bounce again. This also is, it feels too broken. Not the wrist, but the rig makes it look very broken here, and you have a loss of volume here. But yeah, here I think it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, if it was for just finishing on this, it's the same case here. So be careful because it's very actually visible. Um, but here I would suggest, you know, this is your the last, um, the last effort, basically his final effort. So I think he would lose balance completely, um, trying to catch the gun. So here you see he's still kind of relaxed and balanced. His weight is basically here and here, and on his butt at the back. I would definitely like go for extreme pose. Like, by the way, his eyes are a bit off. Um, but I would definitely go for more extreme pose where he would. So it could be on this arm. The weight would be here, this arm, and this arm would just be completely extended, and his hand would be as well. So like I don't know, something like this, like really trying to catch the gun, um, really pushing himself. Like that's basically his final effort. So I think, and he would just like touch the gun and then fall. See, so he would touch the gun one last time with like having the arms really extended. Then the gun would flip like this. Then he would fall into this position, this pose that he has right now. Um, and then, well, this, I guess, it doesn't have a right eye anymore and no brain, but it does have a huge nose. Yeah. Oh, this is quite funny anyway. Yeah, I love the end. I think it's nice. It's just again without what I'm saying, it's working well without what I'm suggesting. I mean, but yeah, I think it would be worth it just to push it a bit more to the next level. Yeah. Okay. So wow. Okay, that's a very long feedback. Um, yeah, I hope it makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. I'll definitely try to go for a shorter feedback next time. Sorry. Bye.